All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Well, it's been long overdue, but the names of both Dave Parker and Dick Allen are finally going to be enshrined into Cooperstown. Both Parker and Allen were elected by the Veterans Committee. The announcement came just this Sunday night, and you think about it, each one of these guys were one of the most feared sluggers at the plate during their respective MLB careers. Dave Parker was a revered hitter in both the 1970s and 1980s, most notably in the 1970s with the Pittsburgh Pirates. He was a four-time All-Star in Pittsburgh, seven overall for his career, and he also was the National League's MVP in 1978. Parker came up big in 1979 when he helped the Pittsburgh Pirates win the World Series, their last World Series championship. And of course, that was the We Are Family Pirates, which included the late, great Willie Stargell. A couple of down years in Pittsburgh would ensue, but then Parker found new life in his MLB career when he joined the Cincinnati Reds in 1984. And in 1985, Parker had one of his finest seasons in Major League Baseball as he hit 312 with 34 home runs and 125 runs batted in. But he missed out on the NL MVP that year. He took second, and Willie McGee of the St. Louis Cardinals took first. But you think about Parker's time in Cincinnati. He was also a mentor to the likes of younger players such as Barry Larkin and Eric Davis in their careers with the Reds. And of course, Barry Larkin and Eric Davis would be a big part of the Cincinnati Reds when they won the World Series back in 1990. We saw Parker join the Oakland Athletics in 1988. And while he was there, he helped them win a pair of American League pennants. And then after we saw Parker win the World Series in 1979 with Pittsburgh. A decade later, he got to the World Series glory again, this time with the A's when they beat the San Francisco Giants. You just think about Dave Parker, and like I said, a fierce power hitter, one of the strongest outfield arms as well. Okay, I mean, he had a hose out there in right field that he could easily hit home plate or third base on a dime, just like that, man. I mean, you think about it, Parker finished his MLB career with 152 outfield assists. He was also a 290 hitter, more than 2,700 career hits, 526 doubles, and 339 home runs. The thing is, Dave Parker should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. I believe that. A lot of other people believe that. And unfortunately, I, like a lot of other people, feel like he was blackballed from the Pittsburgh drug trials in the 1980s. And it's unfortunate because, like I said, Dave Parker, one of the best players of his era, should have been in Cooperstown a long time ago. And speaking of guys who should have been in there a long time ago, Dick Allen has been forgotten about for far too long. We're talking about the 1972 American League MVP with the Chicago White Sox. And you think about it, from 1964 to 1972, he hit at least 20 home runs in each of those seasons. He was also the National League's Rookie of the Year with the Philadelphia Phillies in 1964. He was a career 292 hitter, 351 home runs, more than 1,100 career runs batted in. And then as a rookie, with Philadelphia in 1964, he hit 291 with 29 home runs and 91 runs batted in. We're talking about Dick Allen being a guy who was a six-time All-Star. And unfortunately for him, his only taste of the postseason came in 1976, when after returning to the Phillies in 1975, he helped them win the NL East. But of course, in 76 in the LCS, the Phillies ran into the tough Big Red machine. I'm talking about the Cincinnati Reds, who were en route to repeating as World Series champions. And of course, in those days, it was a little bit different. It was just a divisional format. You had to win your division to get to the postseason. It was the LCS. And then from there, it was the World Series. So it was much tougher to get to the playoffs back then in comparison to right now. But 4 years ago, we saw the Phillies retire Dick Allen's jersey number 15. And thank goodness that he was alive to see it, as he unfortunately passed away not too long after that. And it's one of those where it's unfortunate that he's not around to hear his name called for Cooperstown, because, like I said, it's a long time coming. This man deserved to be in Cooperstown a long time ago, just like Dave Parker. And at the end of the day, two of baseball's overlooked stars have finally gotten their just due. And I think that's frustrating for me. I talk about it with the Baseball Hall of Fame. I've also talked about it with the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. You get some guys that are just overlooked, especially with the Baseball Hall of Fame. You get some writers that hold grudges. You get some writers that really shouldn't be voting. Okay, at the end of the day. And again, these two guys have finally gotten their just due. I've talked about Dick Allen for a while. I've talked about Dave Parker as well on this podcast for months and years, actually, as far as getting in. I've also talked about the names such as Keith Hernandez and Dale Murphy. I feel like those guys do belong in the Baseball Hall of Fame as well. You think about Keith Hernandez, an 11-time Gold Glove winner at first base, two-time World Series champion, one with the Cardinals in '82 and another with the Mets in '86. And of course, in 1979, he was a co-MVP of the National League along with the late great Willie Stargell. Um, Keith Hernandez definitely deserves to be in Cooperstown. Dale Murphy, 1982 NL MVP, the 1983 NL MVP, one of the greatest Braves of all time. Dale Murphy definitely belongs in Cooperstown. But nonetheless, this moment is about Dave Parker. This moment is about Dick Allen. And like I said, long overdue for both of them. Finally happy that it happened. Unfortunately, Dick Allen is no longer with us, but at least Dave Parker had the opportunity to hear his name called. Kudos to the Veterans Committee for getting it done. And let's see who else coming down the stretch in the coming years will be able to have their names called to join the greats in Cooperstown. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line to be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.